open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice. I'm one of your hosts, one of your many hosts today, and Debbie dropped her notes right in front of me, so I was tempted to pick it up right before the show started. I'm your host today. I've got, of course, Debbie Robbins with me, my wonderful co-host, and also Bob Scott, my other wonderful co-host, and there we go. And guys, we had a great show yesterday. We've had a great shows all week talking about the Thomas Massie situation, and so I wanted to just continue on that theme a bit. Yesterday after the show, literally everybody that contributes to Kentucky's Voice, we got on a text thread and we were just going back and forth about this, and there's just not a consensus on what to do with Massie, and I think that's reflective of just the voters in that district are having the same question. It's like, well, we like Massie in a lot of ways. He's done some great things. He has a lot of talent. He's been a strong conservative, and maybe he's fought some good fights here or there. At the same time, he's been an obstructionist. Trump is really upset with him. Is he kind of showboating? Is he what's this anti-Israel stuff? So there's just a whole lot of concerns, and I think it's probably worth spending a little more time talking about it today. And so, matter of fact, I've got 2 minutes. I'm going to play this clip. This is a response that Massie made after the rally. So this is just a story that I think a Cincinnati station did. We'll play this real quick.
In Commitment 2026 news tonight, being called the worst by the President of the United States. During his trip to Hebron, Kentucky yesterday, President Trump continued attacks on Northern Kentucky U.S. Congressman Thomas Massie in his own district.
To find out what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that kind of criticism, WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes headed a couple hours east of Cincinnati to talk one-on-one with Massie.
Well, Thomas Massie is no stranger to harsh words from the president. In fact, Mr. Trump called Massie a moron during the National Prayer Breakfast last month. And as a sign of how the congressman handles comments like that, Massie told me today that he's glad he's in the president's prayers. Speaking to his supporters in Hebron on Wednesday, President Trump sounded off on Thomas Massie, who represents Northern Kentucky in Congress.
He is the worst person. His name is... What the hell? How did he ever end up in Kentucky? His name is Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is a disaster for our party.
A little later, Ed Galrine, the candidate Mr. Trump has endorsed to replace Massie, piled on.
I hope the fake news gets this. Tom Massie stands with the ladies of The View.
I've got a thick skin. I vote with the party and with President Trump 91% of the time. One of those 9% cases where I deviated, and I think it struck a nerve with him, was when I forced the release of the Epstein files. I authored that bill.
Today, I talked to Massie about the swipes the president keeps taking at him during a visit to Massie's farm in Lewis County.
I still like Donald Trump, believe it or not. I voted for him 3 times. But Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. And that's where I am. I trust, but sometimes he has bad advisors. Sometimes he has the wrong people whispering in his ear. I trust the voters to figure this out.
Now, Representative Massie said he would prefer not to have Mr. Trump, the leader of his own party, bashing him in his own district, which includes Northern Kentucky. But Massie noted that yesterday's trip to Hebron by President Trump led to an online fundraising haul of nearly $50,000 for his campaign to keep his seat in Congress. Reporting here in Lewis County, Todd Dykes, WWT News 5.
There we go.
And commitment.
So there we go. So that's his response, and actually kind of a gracious response. I mean, Massey could have come out and said, "That Trump, I'm just so mad at him," but he didn't. He just basically said, I just wish this wouldn't happen, but I am who I am. But however, Debbie, you and I have talked about this yesterday, and we've only got 30 seconds left, but he is who he is, but he can't get anybody else in the party to be like him. And so it sounds like he's kind of an outlier.
Again, he said trust but verify. I think that's the question that a lot of his constituents have about him now. Trust but verify, because he's done some questionable things as far as who he accepts money from for his candidacy, and I just don't buy his reason for the 9% when he didn't support the president.
Ed Galbraith, right? So Bob, we're going to bring Bob back into this right after this segment.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and of course, Debbie Robbins and Bob Scott. And I'm going to kind of play moderator here because, Debbie's sort of pro Galbraith and anti-Massey, and Bob is basically pro-Massey and anti-Galbraith, and I am kind of leaning anti-Massey, but I'm going to play moderator here on some level. But because I want to, it makes for good television, and just kind of get these two going at it. So, but let me pull up this text, Mr. Producer. Pull this up. I want to show you this on the screen here. This is a response today that I saw this on Twitter, and I thought it was a very good point. It was your critique of Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey distracted the entire country with a useless witch hunt, when the focus should have been on the violent far left and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Instead, he gave the Democrats a pass and handed them a narrative they're now using to smear his own party and our president. Unforgivable. So, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of critiques to go around. So I'm going to get.
Who is it from, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
It's just some random tweeter.
Some random,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, right. In somebody, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, Massey's the only one that had the courage to stand up and say something. And just like Massey, I voted for President Trump, one of his most ardent supporters over the last 10 years. Ever since he ran in 2016, I voted for him 3 times, as Massey did as well. But where was everybody with regard to the Epstein files and the absolutely horrific things that happened to women and children?
That's right.
During that, where was this outcry then? And then you had our president basically gaslighting us all and saying there was nothing to see there. When in truth, when it finally started coming out, there was something very much to see there.
That's right.
Well, my question is this: where was Massey's outrage in 2021, 2, 3, and 4 in regard to Epstein? He had been arrested and jailed in the early 2000s, came out of jail and started right back with his shenanigans. So that doesn't fly with me. Of course, the trafficking of women, the sexual abuse, it's disgusting, it's filthy, it's vile. But I put the burden on both sides of the political aisle on this, and I do agree with whoever put out that post that, Massey, he just made a wrong choice for the wrong reason there, just to go after President Trump. Again, this is a Christian conservative talk show.
What do you mean
so,
go after President Trump?
By demanding that the Epstein files are released. Because
something that President Trump promised to do when he was running for president,
and they
time, Debbie, come on,
and they did, But we all know what a scumbag this guy is. We know Epstein was a scumbag, and they released an awful lot that we know. There was plenty there the first time around to go after guilty parties, because somebody knows, the DOJ knows the people that were on that island, the people that did the horrific acts. They know.
Yes,
so
but it's
in their
hands.
They
weren't releasing it. They were sitting on it.
But Massey, where was his outrage again in 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24? If this was so burning and so important to him, where was it? Now that he's in the fight for his political life.
I'd say, and not being a total Massey defender here, but gee, who was president during that period of time, and who was sitting on it? And Massey really had no power or influence or anything. He didn't really even fully know what was in it.
Yeah, let me weigh in on this. I do think the release of the Epstein files is appropriate. It should have been done.
Yes.
And I was disappointed that Trump was working to sort of hold it back on some level. I don't know what was going on there, but he did eventually release it. And it's so now would he ever release it if it wasn't for Massey's pressure? I'd probably not. At the same time,
no, I can answer that.
Probably not. But I do critique Massey's approach in the sense that why is he the only lone person out there doing this and sticking his neck out? He needs to work with the party. He needs to work within the system.
I don't think anybody's arguing that part of it, Tom. But to vilify him and say that he was doing something wrong, when really and truly, I can say it. I'm a lifelong Republican, but our party was doing wrong, and our leader of our party was doing wrong by gaslighting it and saying that there's nothing to see here. And he said that. Very clearly said it. And then when
wait a minute,
Massey,
Bob, I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't think the president was saying there's nothing to see. I think the president was defending himself, that Massey was trying, and the Democrats have been trying to entangle him in that.
That was one of the words he said, Debbie, when he was defending.
But I think he meant himself. There's nothing to see
it.
as far as him. This man has been fending off attacks since 2016 on, for him. But again, we all are sickened over that. But I felt like that was a red herring. We are. But it was a red herring with Massey. To me, it was a red herring.
Let's table the Epstein thing for a second, because it's that's been vetted. I think everybody knows everybody's positions on it. I've got a question to Massey supporters, and Bob, you specifically on these votes. Okay, so these are votes that Massey voted no on. Okay. Mm-hmm. In 2023, a resolution reaffirming Israel's right to exist and rejecting calls for its destruction as anti-Semitic. He voted no on that, okay? 2023, another resolution standing with Israel after the October 7th Hamas attacks, one of 10 no votes, the only Republican, okay? 2019, a resolution opposing the BDS movement against Israel, and 2024, a bill redefining anti-Semitism for federal enforcement, which he called unconstitutional and a threat to free speech. And then also he boycotted, Benjamin Netanyahu's 2024 address to Congress. So something's going on there that's a little bit more than just I'm just standing for a principle of America first. It seems to be a little bit too pointed at Israel specifically, and we had some, we're texting.
And why?
Why is this? Yeah, I do. I just question that, and I just do.
Stick to those issues right there. I would love to hear the answer. I want to know why. Not Epstein. I want to know the why to that.
Yeah. Well, just as a supporter, how would you respond to that, Bob?
Well, I think he's been pretty clear about answering that. And again, not speaking totally for Thomas Massey, but he feels that Israel has had too much influence on our basically our United States Congress and on our president, whether you be Republican or Democrat. Now, do I necessarily fully agree with that assertion that he's come up with? Not necessarily. But because here we talked about it yesterday, we know there's a lot of countries, I think $350 million that Qatar has spent on lobbying and try to influence our nation.
The Saudis, the Chinese,
the Saudis,
the EU. There's a lot of countries that lobby us and have a lot of influence, a lot more money throwing around the country other than Israel. Why is this Israel?
I know. I get that it seems like we're tiptoeing through the tulips, and we have to with these Middle Eastern countries. But what I will say, biblically, in the book of Romans, the first 8 chapters are written for the Jewish people, the second 8 for the Gentiles. The third 8 chapters are about the grafting of the vine, of putting the Christians and the Jews, or the Gentiles and the Jewish together. That's where we are. And I think that, for me as a Christian, is the bottom line as to why we are glued to the hip to Israel. Now, does that mean we have to do everything they say or vice versa? No. But that's always my premise as a Christian, to go there first. And I pray for the leaders and them to have wisdom. It doesn't mean Benjamin Netanyahu is a Boy Scout or a Donald Trump or whatever. But biblically, we are glued together. We are grafted together in the vine. And we've got to deal with that. And the rest of the world doesn't understand it, especially if they're not Christians. They don't get it. But we should. And so that's where I am.
And I do agree with that to a point, because, again, they've been really the only democracy, if you could call it, in the Middle East. And now there's a lot, even within our own party, that would argue that. But, the bottom line is, do we need Israel? Are we grafted to them, as you put it? I think that they are very important, to us as a nation, especially with the Middle East. And as Christians, we know a lot of things. Really, the center of the universe is the Middle East, if you want to get right down to it.
Right.
So, and by the way, I do want to invite folks. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Our text line number is 502-571-0970. Again, 502-571-0970. We really want to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts about what we're talking about. Anything else that's on your mind?
Well, and I'm also worried about, because I'm worried about the terror cells that are here in America from the Middle East.
Well, you should be.
And I am. Right. And
Biden's open border made sure that was going to happen.
Right.
And we know, I've heard crazy numbers, and I did have, and I know we're about out of time on this segment, but I had Scott Mann, one of the foremost experts on this, on a program earlier several times.
That's right.
And he said they're here.
And listen, Israel's on the front lines of fighting radical Islam. And so that's one reason it's good to have Israel there in the Middle East as an ally, because all the Arabs and all the radical Muslims that have been against America and the West can focus their eye on them first, as because we've been fighting Islam for 1,500 years, right? And it's never going to go away as long as it exists. And so let's be real about it.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and Dan, our producer, I just love him because we want to just keep debating during the breaks, and Debbie and I and Bob we're just go. We have another show that we're doing between the breaks. I wish you could hear it. And then he's like, "No, will you shut up? We got to go back on the air. Just go 3, 2, 1." We never said shut up, but he's definitely upset at us talking. Okay, anyway, I do have a text that came in. I want to read this real quick. Nobody is going to jail for the Epstein files. It's too much theater and gossip. There are far more serious issues to deal with, and they ask the question: is Massey an anti-Semite? And so, before I hear your all's response on this, let me just say this: there is this thing going on right now on the right, where there is this, sudden skepticism of Israel, a very not more than skepticism, a mistrust and a hostility towards Israel, which is also turning into a bit of a anti-Semitic, kind of a Jew hatred thing. I'm not saying everybody that's skeptical of Israel or skeptical of Middle East policy in the U.S. is an anti-Semite. However, there are a lot of that messaging getting very popular on the right. I'll name some names. Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson's kind of getting a little bit off on the anti-Israel kick.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens, of course. Mm-hmm. And so there is this stream that's out there, and people, if you're listening to talk radio, you know this because you're immersed in this world. And I just think somebody has to take a stand on where we are right now. I think it's fair to have a critique of Israel if their policy is inaccurate. But I think overall, the U.S.-Israeli alliance has been good for America, and it's been good for the world. And I think the past 2 weeks proves it. If anything else, Iran is an evil regime that wants to kill us both. And they want to kill the little Satan, Israel, and the big Satan. And they're making nukes to do it. And I want to play this real quick, Mr. Producer. This is one of the coolest things I've heard recently. This is a radio transmission between two pilots in Iran. One's an Israeli pilot, one's a U.S. pilot. And they were just flying by each other, and here's what they said. So,
Line 97.
Let me play it again.
Go for 97. It is a great honor for us to fight with you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Likewise, gentlemen. Please be safe out there. Strike hard. See ya.
That was just so cool. I'm going to play one more time in case you didn't hear it. So here we go.
Mobile 97.
Go for 97.
It is a great honor for us to fight with you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Likewise, gentlemen. Please be safe out there. Strike hard. See ya.
That's just cool. It's very interesting. I mean, just as a warrior ethos to have two warriors from different countries going, hey, it's an honor to fight with you. We're on the same side trying to kill these bad guys. And it's just really, really kind of interesting to say. But it also shows you that, the U.S.-Israel alliance is meaningful, it's strong, and there's a purpose to it. And I think the cause of Israel is a noble cause. And every administration from the time Israel was founded to now has supported Israel. So it's been American policy from day one, and that's a good thing. Now, are they perfect? No. Can we disagree with some of their approaches to things? Yes. I disagree with my own government's approaches on things. The CIA has done a lot of bad stuff in the world I'm not a big fan of. Same time, America's a force for good in the world, and I'm going to support America. And so we need to just be wide-eyed about that. Now let me say this real quick. I know we got other stuff to talk about. This whole anti-Semitic thing, whole anti-Jewish thing is going on the right. It's a very complicated topic because there is a lot of kind of left-wing culture within a lot of Jewish communities in America that has been for a long time. So it's an easy target in a lot of ways to say, look at all these Jews that are all voting left-wing or supporting all these left-wing causes. And you look at the communists in the 1920s, the Oppenheimers, the Rosenbergs, they're all Jewish. So there's a lot of critique of Jewish culture and Jewish life. At the same time, there's a lot of beautiful, wonderful things the Jews have done for us in the world. And that people never talk about that. All the anti-Semitic tropes are, they always talk about all these negative things that culture's done. Well, it's because it's a very high performance culture, right? It does very well, no matter where it goes. And so they if they're going to do good, they're going to do amazingly good. Like invent some heart thing that saved your life, or invent some new nuclear fission thing that's helped us stop the war, World War II. Or all these wonderful things. But if they're going to do some things bad, sometimes they do really things bad. For example, the people that run pornography in this country, a lot of them are Jewish people, and people could just be like, "Well, look at these Jews, I'll run on the." So it's a very complicated topic, but it's an easy thing to go off and just be very simple-minded and go, "Oh, just the Jews, you Jews, the Jews taking over." That is so simple-minded and silly. And some of the best conservatives and some of the best people you ever meet in your life are Jewish people that are fighting the good fight, and so you just. This anti-Semitism stuff, it's really dark and twisted. And I think, Debbie and Bob, you agree with me, there's a spiritual element to it. Because historically,
yes.
the enemy, let me just say it, I'm going to get spiritual and Christian here. Satan doesn't like the Jews. There's a good reason for it, because there's a whole narrative called the Bible that talks about the Jews and their history, and from Haman trying to kill them in the Babylon area to Hitler to all the pogroms. There's something about the Jews. There's something, and the Jews are kind of like scratching their head about it throughout history. It's like, why does everybody hate us? What is going on? We can't even figure it out. It doesn't make rational, but it's not even rational. They all hate us.
Right.
So it's a very complicated issue. I get it, but this anti-Semitism stuff is not the way to go.
It's complicated, but yet it's not complicated because we all know sin never takes a vacation, neither does evil.
Right.
And so that is why my heart pounds for making sure that when we are choosing leaders and we elect people to office, once again, and I want to hear from you all out there too, do you agree with me on this? Maybe we've lost our way in not properly vetting people on a local level. If you're going to decide to run for an office, I think people need to know your character. We need to dig deep. As a Christian, of course, I want you to be a Christian. That's my, but I'm not just talking in name only. I'm talking about you walk it, you live it, you talk it, you breathe it. And it's very difficult to find those people. But when they get in leadership and then they move up the ladder, then they can be the ones that hold the, quote, bad Jews accountable or bad anybody accountable. Then you can really have a dialogue back and forth. But to me, it comes back to all of us. We've got to vote correctly. We've got to vet and do that. So what do you think, Bob?
Let me say this, Debbie. We need to hold a lot of bad Christians accountable, because there's people like this Talico guy that's running for Senate down in Texas.
In Texas.
He's using his Christianity as a badge, saying
he's perverting the word of God.
Exactly. Also, our own governor, Andy Beshear, who wears his Christianity. So, you're talking about a bad Christian. He's very much a bad Christian. He's a toxic Christian. He's just using his Christianity to push left-wing crap on our kids and on us. And so, but anyway, whatever. Okay, I don't want to eat that whole segment up with that topic, but I think it's important. Anyway, a text came in that says non-practicing Jews are Democrats. Heritage and faith are two different things.
Right.
That's a trend. You do see that. But you also see this way. You also see a lot of non-practicing post-Christian people, urban Christian people, like your Episcopalians in the Northeast. They're all left-wing too. So there's something about when you leave your traditional conservative approach to religion, Judeo-Christianity, you need an alternative religion. And so whether you're Jewish or you're Christian, you adopt left-wing viewpoints as an alternative religion. I think that explains most of Jewish left-wing thinking. A lot of Jews have left their Judaism. Proof of that is a lot of Orthodox and conservative Jews are voting Republican. So it's just interesting. So anyway, okay, Bob, any thoughts on any of that?
No, my biggest thought right now, and I'm circle back a little bit to Iran, and specifically, they are an evil nation, and I'm not talking about the people of Iran at all. I'm talking about the radical Muslims that came in and took it over. And do you all realize that they are estimating, and these are reports that are coming from out of Iran, from Iranians, that that the recent uprising was put down. They estimate that anywhere from 30 to 40 million, or thousand, I'm sorry, not million, but 30 to 40,000 Iranians were executed or, shot in the street, and all different ages. Just absolutely horrific, absolutely brutal. Besides the fact they do hate America, they hate Israel, they hate their own people.
Yeah.
And
sad.
the bottom line is I do applaud what President Trump did with regard to trying to remove this plague from the earth.
Yeah. It's a risky play, but there's a good reason for it, and so I'm supporting it right now. We'll be back.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we're getting into some deep issues there in that last segment, but I want to bring it back to everything else that's going on in the world. Bob, I know you and I were talking about this the shooting in Old Dominion yesterday, and Debbie was talking earlier about Muslim terrorism and how there's a lot of these terror cells, and I'm going to try to find a piece of video here, but would you want to just describe what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely tragic. My oldest son recently, a year ago, was in an ROTC program at the University of Kentucky. He's now serving actively in the United States Air Force. And we are, Debbie and I and you were talking about, we were living in very scary times, very complicated times, and very evil times, with regard to it. And there's been a lot of concern. I mentioned earlier that I've had Scott Mann on my program several times. He is honestly one of the foremost experts, with regard to, he's an ex lieutenant colonel, Green Beret, had lots and lots and lots of activity where he had, as they call, boots on the ground, in the Middle East, and almost lost his life several times and saw a lot of his comrades die. But we are living, and Scott was sounding this
I got a piece of video
ago,
for you, whenever you're ready.
With regard to, and we'll go to that video here in a second, but he was sounding the alarm well over a year ago that the enemy is at our gates. They're more than at our gates; they're inside our gates. The Trojan horse has happened with the open border policy of the previous administration. So now we are dealing with the enemy inside right now, and we unfortunately are starting to see some are calling it lone wolf attacks, but things that are happening, and something tragic just happened in Virginia. I think we have a video we'd like to share with everybody.
I was actually waiting for my midterm exam to happen. The guy next to me and I were just standing by when all of a sudden these three ladies, or three people, it was a group of people, started telling the suspect, I assume, to get out. And all of a sudden we heard a commotion. A lot of people rumbling, starting to get up. We looked at each other, the guy next to me, we looked at each other, we started running, and that's when we heard, gunshots.
We heard faint screaming, and we just looked back, we didn't know what it was. And then we heard the screams getting louder, and then that's when the alarm went off, and everyone just ran out the building. I think it's crazy, it's crazy. That's all I can say. I never thought I would experience something like this, this close. It was kind of scary.
I just left class in Constant Hall, and then I walked over to Web Center to read my book and get a coffee. And as I was sitting, probably about 30 or so people ran in through the front door of Web Center, screaming shooter and gun.
I'll stop it there. It's just more of these eyewitness accounts. But basically, you just had a shooter in Old Dominion University yesterday. And Bob, you know more of the story than I do. What is the
it's in the Hamptons area of Virginia, the coastal area, around Norfolk, which obviously we have a lot of military facilities, mainly Navy.
Yeah, 2 shot, 1 dead. Yeah.
Yeah. And he came into an ROTC classroom, and I've heard several stories. I can't confirm every single one, but the alleged shooter, or not the alleged shooter, the shooter had a background in the military himself, our military, and was basically gotten rid of from the standpoint of because of his ISIS activities and caring about obviously that particular organization, and decided to go in, take action and kill a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel, but he's an instructor for the ROTC program.
And then you have the bombing last weekend of these guys throwing bombs in New York. There's just every other day you're hearing some sort of
and then just happened in Michigan, a Jewish center up there.
That's right.
Was attempted. They had security and they were able to take care of the terrorists, and that's what all these people are. They're terrorists,
that's right.
And I got to say something. Give a shout out to the ROTC. Cadets at ODU, they basically took this guy down and took him out. Good. Without a gun. I've heard reports that someone had a knife that they really weren't supposed to have on them, but regardless, he was neutralized, not quickly enough from the standpoint of the fact that there was an innocent instructor that was killed, but they were able to go and do what needed to be done, in that situation.
And keep your head on a swivel right now, folks, because it's a dangerous world. And what's odd is guys, who voted to bring in millions and millions of Muslims in this country? I didn't vote for that. I mean, listen, there's some nice Muslim people. I mean, there's some individuals, but Islam as a culture, it is so problematic to a Western society. From the politics of it to the religion of it to just the security issues. There's so many things that go on. Just the assimilation. Why don't I have to go to an Aldi's here on Bardstown Road and every woman in there's got a hijab on? What is going on with it? This is
I don't
Kentucky,
like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say, first of all, my heart aches for the youth of our nation, that they're having to live through this. My heart aches for the senior population who lives in fear because they're seeing the invasion that we've had, and they know as they die off, these people, unless they're gotten out of this country, that who knows what our nation's going to be like. So for me, I want us to keep demanding from our senators, our congressmen. Right now, DHS needs to be funded. Shame on every Democrat. And they are Democrats, by the way, that shut down the government. I want our Kentucky state legislature to pass the Sharia law, or the one on religious law, so we can defend ourselves against these crazy people trying to make us abide by their laws. I want to know what to do as a citizen. We need training. Just like as a kid, I learned how to hide for a bomb shelter. I mean, that's how old I am. And that we know how to take shelter for a tornado. We need to know what to do and what to look for. I don't like when I go shopping and I see working age young men with tattoos all over their bodies, and I know they're not Americans, roaming around our stores. That's weird to me. Yeah. I want to know what to do. I want our police to let me know what to do. I want to know if our sheriff department and our police department and our mayor and our metro council, what can we do as citizens? How can we protect ourselves? Are you making sure that you're working with ICE, even though you say you are? I want to make sure you're working with ICE, because we all walk around, we feel like we're just targets. I'm not afraid because this is my country and I'm a Christian and I love Jesus. But on the other hand, it is not a comfortable life to live anymore. And that's why so many people wanted to come to America. But like Tom, I'm asking the same question. Who gave these people permission to enter? Everywhere I go, it's an invasion. It's not, they can't all say political asylum, religious asylum, whatever it is. They've got to go. And I pray our president and our Congress, but the DHS, the ICE, get these people out of our country.
Yeah. And not only didn't we vote for this, we're paying for it.
Right.
Because most of the people, most of these new immigrants that have come in, either through refugee status or whatever, or even just general immigrants, more than half are on some sort of welfare system, welfare benefit right now. And then all the illegals as well, And so we're paying for it. We're paying for our own replacement, paying for our own invasion and diluting of our political power. And no one asked for this.
But it's pretty stupid, huh, Tom?
It's crazy.
You think we'd be a lot smarter than that as an advanced nation that we're allowing that. But, just look what happened up in Minnesota. With the billions of dollars that from the Somali folks that have come into the country. Most of them are Muslim, and not trying to paint with too broad of a brush, but that's a fact. Facts are facts. Kind of ties in with what Debbie just said a second ago.
Yeah. And Bob, I ask too, again, thank God for those ROTC students. Oh my goodness, they're amazing. But it's people like that I want in political office, that have the backbone and the courage to say, we're not putting up with this. We're going to enforce our laws. I want police officers that enforce our laws. I'm tired of their hands being tied. I want mayors. So again, citizens, all of us, I'm begging you, you've got to vote on May 19th here locally. You've got to get to know who's running in your district. What office do they want? Who are they? What's their background? There's a woman in North Carolina right now who's running for Congress because she lied about her status. She was a registered Democrat forever, then registered as a Republican. She got the nomination by default, and she is a radical left, I think, Muslim. This is in North Carolina. We have to be aware of that here. I even put people on our own Metro Council. If you have people running in your district, please research them. Please talk to your neighbors. Don't be afraid. This is our community, our country, our state. We love it. We love God. We love, ask your pastors to be courageous. Ask your churches to pray. We really need, when we see these debates coming up amongst our Senate candidates, we've got to pray for them. We've got to vet them. Ask them the tough questions. Ask them. Go see them. I was at the rally 2 days ago. A guy sitting in the audience with me, he was afraid to go up and shake hands with one of the candidates. I said, you're the American here. You're the Kentuckian. Go right up front and shake their hands. Look them in the eyes. Yes, they work for us. We don't work for them. Look them in the eyes. Ask a question. That's what you're supposed to do. And he was so thrilled that I told him to do so, and he did it, and he was so glad he did. And, and he was at a presidential rally. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox
now. No, that's
now.
fine. No, that's good. No, that's what the show's about. So, well, I just wonder what can be done. I don't, there's a point where you almost think that we've had too much immigration. We need to start asking, obviously, the illegals to leave, but I think we're almost to the point where we have so much legal immigration. We need to really vet people and say, listen, do you really belong here? Do you really want to be here? First of all, we're going to take your benefits away. Now, are you still going to be able to function here if we don't give you benefits? Maybe you should go home. Because back in the 19th century, 70, 80% of the people that immigrated here, they went back. They couldn't work. They couldn't handle it because, you got to earn your way. Right now, they're not earning their way. We'll be back.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
I'm sorry. Just bring her.
Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, we appreciate you watching and listening today. We've had some texts come in since the beginning of the show. So please join the Global Republican Women's Club for like-minded Christian women that support Israel. Interesting. Okay, a little plug for them. Thanks for listening and tuning in. And so we're a lot of topics we're trying to riff on today. We've got, of course, Thomas Massie. We've got a clip here of another Thomas Massie rally or anti-Thomas Massie rally interview that you did the other day, because you were there at the rally.
Yes.
And Hebron on Wednesday. And also, I've got a clip I wanted to play of a kind of a philosopher that's been talking about a lot of these immigration issues, and it's very poignant. Elon Musk reposted this the other day, and it's kind of a dark black pill sort of approach to this, but I think it's worth listening to, because it is kind of shows you where we're going, and if we don't really deal with this correctly. So
what you're seeing, especially in what used to be called the White Dominions, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, especially, is you're seeing they're starting to speed run. They're starting to come out of their crouch and basically just be like, yeah, actually, in the 21st century, I think they've increased the population of Canada by like 35%. Right. And so even that is small. The Spanish government was just like, we're going to legalize 500,000. Oh, but that's just an estimate. That's just an estimate of how many people that plan will suck in. It probably will be more like over 1 million. Right. And so, and those people are Schengen. They can go anywhere in Europe, and you will see them do that. And, so what you could see in the U.S., if basically the next time Democrats win the presidency, people talk about like mass immigration. Like, no, we've not seen mass immigration. We have no idea what mass immigration is. Mass immigration is not 2 million people entering the U.S. a year. Mass immigration starts I would not call it mass until it was like 10 a year. And like mass immigration is really the 10 to 50 to 100 million a year.
But that's what could spark civil war.
No.
I don't know. I'm seeing it here.
No, because people have no balls. People have no balls. And actually, like, they will not resist. They will not resist. All of, the thought that they will get their muskets and put on their tri-cornered hats or whatever. When you go back into the period when people actually did this, you're just like, fuck, these people are completely alien to us. Never happen. It won't happen at all. What will happen is exactly what happened in South Africa, which is they will just acknowledge that they've lost all of their power forever, and then they will sit quiet.
There we go. We cut it off, and so there we go. Missed that word. You didn't hear that word. Just ignore that. But the point is, he's right. Back in the 1776, we basically started a revolution based on a tea tax. Right? I mean, it's something as minor as a tea tax, and so we were different people back then. And so you wonder, with all this, we've been so, anesthetized by affluence and by our Netflix and by our,
We're
great
spoiled.
food and spoiled. And so all this stuff can be done to us, and we just ignore it, and it's is it too late? I guess is the question. I don't know. Is it too late? Can we even address the issue? And that's what he's saying. He's saying it's too late. And what he ends up saying at the end of that clip is it's just going to be just like South Africa. And you're going to have these little groups of, the native-born Americans are going to be little, enclaves, and they're going to be just, pogromed eventually, and just living.
I think with
living
this
in gated
current
communities.
this current cabinet with this president, I think I've seen signs of life for the republic, signs of life. And that makes me feel good. When I hear Pete Hegseth talk, Secretary of War, and Marco Rubio, over the years, his incredible patriotic speeches, the speech he gave about a month ago that was just phenomenal, the President's State of the Union address, his Truth Social posts. Every morning after I get up and praise the Lord and say my prayers, the first place I check is Truth Social. What does the president say? Because the buck stops with him. And that kind of shapes where, my nation is today. Because right now, and I just want to say to all of us, yeah, we are spoiled. I've been a very blessed and privileged woman to get to travel off of this soil, as I'm sure many of you have out there. And as a young woman in Colombia, South America, a very dangerous, the drug capital of the world, Barranquilla, Colombia, very scary place. And once you've done that and you come back home, you really, really have your eyes opened as to how blessed that we are as a nation. So it's up to us. I don't think it's too late. I think if we follow the law and we hold our people accountable to follow the law, but it takes effort. It takes effort. Just as it's really not any more effort than you getting up and filling up your coffee pot. It doesn't take that long to make a phone call. It doesn't take that long to get aware of what's going on in the world. And you have something strike in your heart that bugs you, you call and you leave a message and you let them know how you feel. Again, exponentially, you represent thousands of people, thousands. So I just encourage you to do that. I hope it's not too late, Tom.
Bob, is it too late?
No, it's never too late. Until the fat lady sings, I guess, Tom. I'll throw that in real quick. But no, our nation was, I feel, founded by the grace of God. And I was talking to somebody the other day about this, that how we came about as a nation is a miracle in its own right.
Yes.
It really is. And God has put us in this position and has, I'll say this, blessed us because we have stood as a nation on the side, for the most part, not saying we're always perfect, but on the side of good, down through the years. And I think because of that, and we've honored him, as a people, we are here today solely because of our faith in God, our faith in Jesus Christ. And the word says he'll bless those who honor him. And that's what we have done, as a nation from day one. So no, I'll say an emphatic no. It's not too late. There is hope. And our hope ultimately, though, and we have to keep this in mind, is in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Right. And that's generally been America's secret sauce there. It's the fact that it has a strong Christian tradition that allows it to renew itself and helps solve a lot of the major social and political problems that would have crushed other countries, and so we can make it through a civil war. We can heal from a civil war. We can have a revolution and then not turn into the French Revolution where we're cutting off each other's heads.
You brought up a good point there. So how many countries
we can have a civil rights movement that's still
yeah. I mean,
how many countries
have imploded by having civil wars, and
that's right.
And we got through that,
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. There's something special about America, but we're losing that. We're losing that Christian heritage, so we need a revival. It's starting to happen though amongst young people.
I was going to say, except for. Yeah. 2 days ago at the rally, I remembered Charlie Kirk. I saw a young man with a freedom shirt on. It's been 6 months since he was brutally murdered and assassinated. Yeah. But thank you, Jesus, for your healing hand of how you've rained down your mercy on us, and that a lot of people have come to Christ. My neighbor, I go walking every day, and my neighbor told me, he said, when that happened, and he's in his 60s, he said, when that happened, I hadn't been to church in decades. And he said, I got baptized, I went back to church. He said, and I'm sitting there in a room with other people that were waiting to talk to counselors. And he said, the question was asked of me, why are you here today? He said, because of Charlie Kirk. And he said, immediately, 3 other people echoed the same, because of Charlie Kirk.
Praise the Lord.
I know.
Yes.
And 2 days ago when I met kids there at the rally, oh my goodness, to hear them speak, to hear their hearts, to hear them lift up the name of Jesus, to lift up this country. I want to live in today's program with hopeful hearts, and I want to appeal to every grandmother out there, and mom and dad and aunts and uncles, for you to lift up young people, lift them up, listen to them, give them courage, help them to know how great it is. Take them to historic sites, take them to places to remember, because this is a great nation, and I know me, I'm not giving up until my last breath for this amazing country that God let me be a part of. And I know that you all feel the same way out there. And thank you so much for
Debbie.
listening with us. Yeah.
Here's one of those young people you interviewed the other day on Wednesday. So.
That's what a lot of people are saying. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is definitely part of it. I know there's a lot of issues with filibuster right now, and there's a lot of talk amongst the Republican Party on whether or not to end it. And I think, honestly, if this is one of those issues that is so important that if we do not get this passed, if we do not get election integrity and voter ID codified into law, we may not be winning many elections in the near future.
We may not be a country anymore. What do you think of that? Exactly.
Possibly. I think generally the fear mongering about if Democrat wins, we'll never win again, not necessarily true, but it's definitely going to be an issue, and it will make it harder for us to win again, especially on the national level.
There you go. There's some hope there. It's kind of it leads into a conversation. So you were talking about the
Smart
SAVE
kids.
Act. Yeah. You were talking about the SAVE Act there, and so he thought
he's only 20. What great wisdom.
That's
20-year-old.
That's right. So there's some hope there. So Bob, thoughts on the SAVE Act?
No, we're right on the money, man. I mean, we were talking about the SAVE Act earlier, and folks, pick up your phones. Your action is needed. Why on God's green earth are our Republican senators not doing anything to pass an act that is absolutely, both Democrats and Republicans overwhelmingly want it? And at the heart of it is you have to show some kind of voter ID when you go to vote.
And proof of citizenship.
It's not a Democrat-Republican issue, but yet, and it can pass. That they need to basically allow a voiced filibuster, which John Thune, a Republican, leader of the Republican Senate, is so far blocking from happening. Hey, we see you, John Thune. We see you, Republicans.
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. I'll call out Mitch McConnell.
Right.
What a disgrace he's been to our country and our state. Come on, wake up.
Pass
this
it.
needs to happen. What are you hiding? What are you hiding right now, politicians? That you won't allow basic identification to happen. It needs to end, and it needs to end now.
Yeah, force those Democrats. Yeah, call them today and force those Democrats to do a real filibuster. If they're going to filibuster, make them stand up and do the Mr. Smith
51,
goes to Washington
then it
routine.
can go to a 51 simple majority.
That's
Tom.
right. That's right. Yeah, we could do that with just breaking the filibuster. So anyway, okay, guys, great show today, and we want to just encourage you to be praying or be very thoughtful about who to vote for, Gowrain or Massey, if you're in this district. It's been a real debate amongst us here, and we'll see what's going to happen. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.